The video contains 25 items professional education topics. If you wish to have a video with explanation or majorship and general education test types, don't hesitate to write in the comment section. Are you ready? The test is about to start. 1. Who among the teachers described below is doing assessment? A. Mrs. Bautista, who is administering a test to her students. B. Mr. Ferrer, who is counting the scores obtained by the students in his test. C. Miss Leva, who is computing the final grade of the students after completing all their requirements. D. Professor Cuevas, who is planning for a remedial instruction after knowing that students perform poorly in her test. Two. Mr. Fernandez is judging the accuracy of these statements. Which statements will he consider as correct? I. Test is a tool to measure a trait. 2. Measurement is the process of qualifying a given trait. 3. Assessment is the gathering of quantitative and qualitative data. 4. Evaluation is the analysis of quantitative and qualitative data for decision making. A. I and 2 only. B. 3 and 4 only. C. I, 2, and 3. D. I, 3 and 4. Three. If I have to use the most authentic method of assessment, which of these procedures should I consider? A. Traditional test. B. Performance-based assessment. C. Written test. D. Objective assessment. Four. After doing the exercise on verbs, Ms. Borillo gave a short quiz to find out how well students have understood the lesson. What type of assessment was done? A. Summative assessment. B. Formative assessment. C. Diagnostic assessment. D. Placement assessment. Five. Who among the teachers below performed a diagnostic assessment? A. Miss Santos, who asked questions when the discussion was going on to know who among her students understood what she was trying to emphasize. B. Mr. Lobong, who gave a short quiz after discussing thoroughly the lesson to determine the programs of learning. C. Miss Ventura, who gave 10-item test to find out the specific lessons which the students failed to understand. D. Mrs. Lopez, who administered a readiness test to the incoming grade 1 pupils. Six. You are assessing for learning. Which of these will you likely do? A. Giving grades to students. B. Reporting to parents the performance of their child. C. Recommending new policies in grading students. D. Assessing the strengths and weaknesses of students. Seven. Miss Saplan is planning to do an assessment of learning. Which of these should she include in her plan considering her purpose for assessment? A. How to give immediate feedback to students' strengths and weaknesses. B. How to determine the area of interest of learners. C. How to certify students' achievement. D. How to design one's instruction. A. You targeted that after instruction, your students should be able to show their ability to solve problems with speed and accuracy. You then designed a tool to measure this ability. What principle of assessment did you consider in this situation? A. Assessment should be based on clear and appropriate learning targets or objectives. B. Assessment should have a positive consequence on students' learning. C. Assessment should be reliable. D. Assessment should be fair. 9. Miss Ortega tasked her students to show how to play basketball. What learning target is she assessing? A. Knowledge. B. Reasoning. C. Skills. D. Products. (10) Mr. Ravlas made an essay test for the objective identify the planets in the solar system. Was the assessment method used the most appropriate for the given objective? Why? A. Yes, because essay test is easier to construct than objective test. B. Yes, because essay test can measure any type of objective. C. No, he should have conducted oral questioning. D. No, he should have prepared an objective test. (11) Mr. Sidro wants to test students' knowledge of the different places in the Philippines, their capital, and their products, and so he gave his students an essay test. If you were the teacher, will you do the same? A. No, the giving of an objective test is more appropriate than the use of essay. B. No, such method of assessment is inappropriate because essay is difficult. C. Yes, essay test could measure more than what other tests could measure. D. Yes, essay test is the best in measuring any type of knowledge. (12) What type of validity does the pre-board examination possess if its results can explain how the students will likely perform in their licensure examination? A. Concurrent. B. Predictive. C. Construct. D. Content. (13) Miss Avish wants to determine if the students' scores in their final test is reliable. However, she has only one set of test and her students are already on vacation. What test of reliability can she employ? A. Test retest. B. Cuter-Richardson method. C. Equivalent forms. D. Test retest with equivalent forms. Refer to this case in answering items 14 to 15. Two teachers of the same grade level have set the following objectives for the day's lesson. At the end of the period, the students should be able to A. Construct bar graph, and B. Interpret bar graphs. To assess the attainment of the objectives, Teacher A required the students to construct a bar graph for the given set of data, then she asked them to interpret this using a set of questions as guide. Teacher B presented a bar graph, then asked them to interpret this using also a set of guide questions. 14. Whose practice is acceptable based on the principles of assessment? A. Teacher A. B. Teacher B. C. Both Teacher A and B. D. Neither Teacher A nor Teacher B. (15) Which is true about the given case? A. Objective A matched with performance-based assessment while B can be assessed using the traditional pen and paper objective test. B. Objective A matched with traditional assessment while B can be assessed using a performance-based method. C. Both Objective A and B matched with performance-based assessment. D. Both Objective A and B matched with traditional assessment. 16. In the context of the theory of multiple intelligence, which is a weakness of the paper-pencil test. A. It puts non-linguistically intelligent at a disadvantage. B. It is not easy to administer. C. It utilizes so much time. D. It lacks reliability. (17) Mr. Umayam is doing a performance-based assessment for the day's lesson. Which of the following will most likely happen? A. Students are evaluated in one sitting. B. Students do an actual demonstration of their skill. C. Students are evaluated in the most objective manner. D. Students are evaluated based on varied evidences of learning. (18) Miss Del Rosario rated her students in terms of appropriate and effective use of some laboratory equipment and measurement tools and the students' ability to follow the specified procedures. What mode of assessment should Miss Del Rosario use? A. Portfolio assessment. B. Journal assessment. C. Traditional assessment. D. Performance-based assessment. (19) Mrs. Ilario presented the lesson on baking through a group activity so that the students will not just learn how to bake but also develop their interpersonal skills. How should this lesson be assessed? I. She should give the students an essay test explaining how they baked the cake. 2. The students should be graded on the quality of their baked cake using a rubric. 3. The students in a group should rate the members based on their ability to cooperate in their group activity. 4. She should observe how the pupils perform their tasks. A. 2 and 3 only. B. 3 and 4 only. C. 2 and 4 only. D. 2, 3, and 4. 20. If a teacher has set objectives in all domains or learning targets and which could be assessed using a single performance task, what criterion in selecting a task should she consider? A. Generalizability. B. Fairness. C. Multiple foci. D. Teachability. (21) Which term refers to the collection of students' products and accomplishments in a given period for evaluation purposes? A. Diary. B. Portfolio. C. Anecdotal record. D. Observation report. (22) Mrs. Catalan allowed the students to develop their own portfolio in their own style as long as they show all the non-negotiable evidences of learning. What principle in portfolio assessment explains this practice? A. Content principle. B. Learning principle. C. Equity principle. D. Product principle. (23) How should the following steps in portfolio assessment be arranged logically? I. Set targets. 2. Select evidences. 3. Collect evidences. 4. Rate collection. V. Reflect on evidences. A. 2, 3, 4, V. B. 3, 2, V, 4. C. 2, 3, V, 4. D. 3, V, 2, 4. (24) Which could be seen in a rubric? I. Objective and a high level of cognitive behavior. 2. Multiple criteria in assessing learning. 3. Quantitative descriptions of the quality of work. 4. Qualitative descriptions of the quality of work. AI and 2 only. B 2, 3, and 4 only. CI, 2 and 3. DI, 2, 3 and 4. The pupils are to be judged individually on their mastery of the singing of the national anthem, so their teacher let them sing individually. What should the teacher use in rating the performance of the pupils, considering the fact that the teacher has only one period to spend in evaluating her 20 pupils? A. Analytic. B. Holistic. C. Either holistic or analytic. D. Both holistic and analytic.